found our way. It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas, and we have wonderful guests. And today I have a wonderful guest from Maui who's going to tell us more of the real truth about what's going on in Maui, and we're going to look at it from a multidimensional and spiritual perspective. So let me bring Raylene Short on. She is a quantum healer. Welcome,
Gail.
Raylene. I am honored to have you on my show at this time. I think the nature of the work that you do on Maui may be very important right now. People have been so traumatized. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about how you got to where you are, and then also your feeling and your perspective and what you've seen in reality in Maui as things have transpired.
All right. Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be on your show with you today. I was very chronically ill for 28 years with late stage Lyme disease. I had Epstein-Barr, Bartonella, Babesia, a whole plethora of health issues, over 20 diagnoses, and I was pretty much on my deathbed in 2018. And I was introduced to an energy healer by my doctor because nothing was working for me. And I started to actually get better. And I went into energy healing myself because I finally stopped relapsing and became certified in body and emotion code. And then from there, it just grew. I connected with source, and all of this information on how I heal now in the quantum realm was just gifted to me. And now I use that to heal others as I've healed myself and my own family. And so it's a really miraculous story, the way that everything happened. And I used to be on over 50 pills a day and hormone replacement that I needed for the rest of my life. And I take nothing. I haven't taken up like anything. I don't even take multivitamins in 4 years, occasionally a small targeted dose. And so my family and I live in Montana. And about a year ago, I felt this inner calling to come to Hawaii to visit one of the sacred energies, vortexes or chakra centers, and I wasn't quite sure where. And I mentioned it to my husband, and he, a few days later, told me that he was invited to bid a job, one of 3 companies in the United States in Maui. And in the same time frame, I received an email, and I don't ever get travel emails that said Hawaii welcomes you. And then I was visiting the Montana vortex, which is a really beautiful, like fatherly energy, and talking to a man, and he said, "Oh my gosh, you really have to visit Maui." As I was speaking to him, my husband called and said, "Hey, I booked us flights to Maui. We're going to go there in about a week and a half and go look at this job." And as soon as I was on the ground in Maui, I just felt like my daughter and I had to go touch the sand and the ocean, and we did. And I really anchored into the space. And one of my friends who is clairvoyant and gifted told me that I would meet a wise, like beautiful woman there that would give me some guidance. And I was expecting a physical woman, and I should know she speaks in the spiritual realm. And I just felt completely embraced and surrounded by this energy. And she told me that her name was Mother Maui. And I felt her very strongly with me the entire time I was there. And she said, "You're coming back. I'm calling you to me." And so I told my husband, "You're getting this job. I don't know what's going to work out with, but it's happening." And it was supposed to only be a couple months long, and it ended up getting delayed due to government, red tape and everything. And so instead of being here in January and February, we are now here from May until the end of November. And I knew I was brought here for a special reason. I didn't quite know why. I've been doing a lot of work with the higher heart chakra on Haleakala. And that is, we actually live at the base of it. And then my husband's job is at the very top of it. So we have this, I've seen this energy loop of us kind of anchoring in this love energy that comes from this very powerful sacred space on this island of Maui. And I've been doing a lot of work on the grid lines with the ascension process. My husband does work with me sometimes as well. And I wanted to show you this image that my son pointed out of the island of Maui. So let's see if we can bring that up.
Let me see.
You might have to disapprove it on the screen. But he...
Okay, can you do the... something came up and I didn't get a chance. Oh, there it is.
Okay, let me do it one more time for you.
Okay.
I like to show photos.
No, that's great. That's great.
There we go. So there's the island of Maui, and my youngest son, he said, "Mom, this looks like a picture of a mother holding her baby." And when I looked at it, I thought, wow, it really does. And so this is her head, her nose, her chin. She's looking out this direction. And right here, it would be like she has a baby in her arms. This is her back, which is the Hana area. And right where the mother and baby would intersect or meet, this is the higher heart chakra of the earth. This is Haleakala. And if you've ever been there, the energy is just incredibly divine, powerful, peaceful. And it is the most pure, loving mother energy I've ever felt or experienced in my entire life.
Wow.
So it is a very sacred, special space. And I had no idea we would be here for this, catastrophe that happened, but it feels right that I'm here at the invitation of this beautiful space. I do believe Earth is a living organism, and in honoring to her, we are to ask permission before we dig, before we build, before we go places, and before we travel. And I do a lot of traveling, but it's at the request of Mother Earth. I always get this inner guidance and make sure that I have permission to be there. And then it's quite miraculous when you travel or have that mindset, because it seems like the world pretty much opens up. And all of these places and dimensions that were pretty much locked down and off limits become open up. And a lot of the people who have been, connected with me and watching my journey, they're like, your life seems so magical. How do you find these places? How does this just happen? And I really follow my heart, and I am deeply connected into Mother Earth. And that is how this magic happens.
Mother Earth in our picture behind us. That's Mother Earth. It's supposed to be a portrayal of Mother Earth. Yeah. Just want to.
I love the dolphin energy too. It's so sacred.
I do too.
And I've met so many beautiful healers since I've been here, and they also have stories of how they were just divinely guided to be here at this time. And last weekend, I was honored to host and be part of a healers gathering for us to really recharge ourselves so that we can continue to go out into the world and spread light and be that anchor in this time of a lot of chaos and catastrophe. And so we have to take care of ourselves so that we can continue to serve and take care of others and guide them, or, be an example, whatever role that we might be asked to play in all of that. So that is really how I was brought here. I know it seems really crazy,
but amazing story. It really is.
Here I am.
Yeah. I think I shared with you too that I was actually drawn to Sedona. I didn't know why I wanted to come here, but I felt drawn. I really did. And I'm glad I enjoy it. Looks like we might have a question in the chat, or somebody saying hello. I just noticed it. Oh, somebody said they watched you last night with
Cynthia. Hi, Shelly. Thanks for watching again. I've been on a lot of podcasts lately, so thanks for checking in. And so you wanted me to give an update on what's going on Maui. I've been here the whole time. I was at dinner when the fires started, when I heard about the fires in Lahaina, there wasn't really much news going on. We knew that there were fires in Kula, which is on the side of Haleakala. It's a large region, and the elevation is higher. It's maybe 3,500 feet to 5,000 feet ish above sea level. And so we were, keeping an eye on those fires. We had started to hear that there was fires in Lahaina. And when it started to get dark, we were covered in smoke and we could see the fires burning in Lahaina from our lanai. And then I pretty much spent the entire night outside with Mother Earth, anchoring in energy, supporting her, asking her, like, do you want this to be burning? What's going on? Are you okay? Because I work with a lot of elementals and in the spiritual realm behind the veil. That's really my kind of specialty of where I'm called to work. Outside of the quantum healing with my clients, it's like serving humanity and ascension and Mother Earth. And she said that she was okay. And she's like, no, this is a cleansing. This is a purification, a refining fire. And it smelled like incense to me, honestly. I hate to say that, but it did. And it didn't bother me at all. And then we had ash kind of raining down on us. And a couple hours before I went home, I was at this concert in Maui Meadows, and I learned that it was actually on evacuation notice. And that is probably why we had ash flying on us, because the fires were not that far away. We had fires in North Kihei where I live. I live more on the south side, but there were fires here. It was just like this explosion of fires that blew up all of a sudden within a day on Maui, which it seems really odd because it is, since I've been here, there have been a few isolated fires here and there, but nothing like fires all across the island. And we're on
I've never heard of fires in Hawaii ever before, to tell you the truth. I mean,
most
if
people
there were
haven't,
any,
but I will say that due to overpopulation and siphoning of the natural resources and building in misalignment with Mother Earth, that this side of Maui, the windward side, especially over in Lahaina, even Kihei, is extremely desert-like now. It is very dry. So many trees are dead. Even on the road to Hana, which is a beautiful, lush rainforest, if you look at all of the valleys of streams that should be flowing with water, because it rains there pretty much every day, they are siphoning all the water to use for all the cities here and the resorts and golf courses, and so they're dry. And it was never meant to be this way. It is a misappropriation of Mother Nature and her resources, and it's essentially killing her. And I don't know if I could pull it up. I'll see if I can. But there is an image of what Lahaina looked like before these huge, these cities were built up and all these resorts that were pulling off the water, because the second wettest place in the world is actually the peak of the volcano that would run right into Lahaina. So there's absolutely no reason that it should be a completely parched desert. And so any little spark of anything could just light it up. And we do get a lot of winds here, especially in the Kihei, Kahului area. It is very windy. So again, there was a fire right on the highway by where I live on the 4th of July. It was a very large fire, and you can still see the remnants of that fire. But I'm going to show an image here of what Lahaina, the area that burned, like the entire city burned to the ground, pretty much. It was incinerated. This is what it used to look like.
Okay.
And this is on my Facebook page. There's a story behind it of, the beautiful culture that they had, and everything was lush and green. And then this is now what it is. And if you look on the hillside, you can see that it is very dry. There's no water. There's no green at all. Even in the spring with the heavy rains, it is still pretty dry. And since I've been in Kihei since May, I've experienced like a small sprinkle of rain since then. That's it, one time. And so this is Lahaina, the area that was, completely ravaged and I would say incinerated. This is the healing banyan tree, very sacred tree that took up over an acre of land. It's a 150-year-old tree. And if anyone has ever been there, they remember that tree because it is extremely sacred. And I do believe that the tree.
Yeah, it reminds me of the tree in Avatar.
Yes, it does. Actually, the energy of it is very similar. It's a healing tree. And many people are working to, energetically save it. There's physical people working on the tree. I feel that it is going to rise, be the symbol of rising from the ashes, like a phoenix emerging of new life and rebirth. Mm-hmm. I have not tried to visit this area out of respect for the land and the people. It is pretty much a mass grave site. I believe from just intuitively tuning in that over 1,300 human lives were lost in this tragedy, and over, I think, 581 animals at least, their lives were lost here. And I don't know that they'll ever get an accurate count because there's a large homeless population here. And then there's people who probably don't have anyone to report them missing. It is true that school was called off on the day of the fire because of the high winds. There were very high winds in Lahaina, and I've actually seen images and videos of where the homes in different parts were actually damaged and sustained damage from the high winds. We didn't experience winds that strong over in the Kihei area, South Maui, but they did there, and I believe that's why they called off school. It was the beginning of school anyway, and they had a teacher's day planned, and they just moved it to that day, unfortunately. So there were many, many children home from school without their parents, and sadly, they didn't make it. And I believe that this is a huge cover-up happening because I think our government is trying to minimize the severity of what happened due to mass negligence. And there's a lot going on under the surface here. And so they don't want mass panic and mass chaos, people rising up, because if people really knew the truth of what was going on, I don't know how most people could really sleep at night.
Righteous anger, it's called.
Yes. And they're keeping it hush-hush, or trying to, about the children. So many children's lives being lost, and trying, on the news, you're seeing that the death toll is in the 100s, low 100s, but it's definitely over 1,000. And
it could possibly be as low as what they say when you look at the devastation.
Yes, and there was zero warning. So we have this tsunami alert system all over the entire island. They test them the first day of every month, and they're loud and obnoxious. I mean, if you heard that on a day that wasn't the first day of the month, you would go out of your house. And the director mentioned that it was his responsibility to pull the lever and alert the people that, the people would have ran right into the fire. Are we that dumb that we would just run blindly into a fire? If you go outside of your house, you're going to see what's going on, and then you would be able to react. And I talked to someone that works with me, and one of her friends lived in Lahaina, and she put her child down for a nap, and the child wouldn't sleep. And so eventually she got up and she saw the smoke, and they barely escaped. And it was thankfully, her child wouldn't sleep. And so she ended up getting up and seeing what was going on. And I've heard some reports of them finding children in their beds. And so hopefully they, just succumbed to carbon monoxide poisoning, and it was just a peaceful transition for them. But many people had no idea, and fires are somewhat common here due to it being so dry. So we, see smoke, and we expect to get an alert. Maui tends to be an overreactive island where we get alerts for every little thing. Yet when it came to these fires and multiple places of the island being on fire, we were not getting any alerts. Even in Kihei, when we had ash raining down on us, we didn't know what the status of the fire was or if we needed to evacuate. I ended up staying up till 5 a.m. just looking outside, and I was, holding space for our island and Mother Maui and everything that was going on, but also monitoring the situation with my eyes because I had no reports to know what was really going on. And then there was also reports that the water was turned off.
Yes.
And what they said is, I don't know if this is true, but what the authorities have said is that the resorts were using all the water. And so when they went to turn on the fire system, the fire hoses, there wasn't enough water pressure to do anything with the fires. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just part of the story that they're putting out. But the residents can vouch that there was no water to put out the fires.
What I read was the commissioner in charge of water did not release it for 5 hours and talked about water equity rather than saving people's lives. And he was Hawaiian. I just can't see how anybody could even think about water equity when people are dying in burning up. I mean, it's just unconscionable.
And they're not really that concerned about conserving the water because they're siphoning it all for all these resorts and golf courses. So it doesn't make sense to me either. And I mean, there was mass negligence, and I think there's a lot of cover-ups trying to happen to, hide the negligence of what happened here. But
think
I
it was
strongly,
premeditated. I think it was intentional. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion.
yeah.
I think they knew about it. I think they were in on it, and they were probably paid off. That happens a lot more than people realize. They wanted to make it a smart city out of it. That's what I heard that as well.
And I have a really awesome video on TikTok that is all about the evidence behind their plan to build smart cities with multiple links and multiple sites. And the studies for this have been going on at least since 2011, if not prior to that. So they absolutely had plans to make all the areas that were on fire part of their smart city network. And you can go check out that video on my TikTok. It's Roots Restored Wellness. And it's really interesting, what they're planning to do. I believe that what's happening, this is hard for some people to comprehend, but everything is playing out on multiple dimensions and multiple frequencies. And so at the lower frequencies, I call it the hell matrix or the revelation timeline, where everything is being destroyed, everything is upheaval, there's toxins, pathogens, bioweapons, all of this stuff going on, and this assault against Mother Earth and humanity.
Yes.
And you can descend even lower than that. And I found that there was definitely some dark agendas going on in dimensions even below the third dimension, where they had this mechanical heart energy set up under Lahaina. My son actually pointed this out to me. He said, Mom, did they target Lahaina because there's the heart of Mother Earth there? And I said, I don't think her heart's there. I know her higher heart chakra is on Haleakala. She has heart centers in other parts of the earth. And when I had some time to sit there and go within and meditate on this, I kind of can do remote viewing. So I saw this mechanical heart energy actually under Lahaina. And then I saw the organic heart, one of the organic heart valves of Mother Earth in this area. And I saw that targeted attack was compressing her heart energy. And then they were also using this mechanical heart as part of this false grid line to overlay the organic meridian chakras and ley lines of the earth with their, inverted matrix system to keep Earth locked down into these lower timelines in this density. So this whole network was set up very strategically. And of course, they want to hit Mother Earth at her jugular, which is what I feel like they were doing by attacking the higher heart chakra, the jugular, this very specific place in Lahaina. If you go back to the map of Lahaina, right where that would be at the third eye, the inner sight, the first sight of this sacred island. And there were fires burning all around her heart, her higher heart area as well. The Kula area, the Olinda fire, there was some in Makawao and North Kihei. So this is all the energy that would be coming out of the heart, and those are the specific areas that were targeted. So this is very much a spiritual battle. There's so much happening beyond the veil that we're not able to see with our physical eyes. We have to use that first eye, first sight, to be able to tune in and see what's going on. But if you're stuck in the 3D dimension and you can't see beyond that, you won't be able to see these other aspects of what is going on. And ultimately, when we go up to the higher dimensions, and that is where I was working with Mother Earth even during these fires, she gave me a message a few weeks before these fires started. And it took me a while to share it because I don't like to be the bearer of bad news. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why me? I don't want to be the one to tell this news. And that video is also on my TikTok about Mother Earth saying she's going to let it all burn. And she is in the process of cleansing herself and purifying herself because she is a living organism. And she's in the process of ascension, like many of us are, raising our frequency, rising up out of these dark, dense timelines. And what has humanity done to her? We can see in the images that I showed of Lahaina, we have siphoned her and we are killing her and we're parasiting off of her. People are exploiting her and using her for personal gain and power and control and putting people in these slave systems. She was never meant to be that, and she does not consent to be used in that way. And so she is essentially fighting back and ejecting all of what she considers parasites and people who are siphoning her off of the land. And she told me that you can be spared from this if you are connected to her heart and you are honoring to her space. So ask before you dig, ask before you build, ask before you pick something that is from her, because we are sustained by her. If she dies, What happens to humanity and all life on Earth? We need to take care of her. And I feel like she has every right to do this. And that's what she told me she was doing with this. And she said, do not intervene. And there's many times that I work with the elementals to bring in rain or, whatever is needed. And she's like, no. And I said, as soon as you say the word, I will do it. I will assist in any way I can. And she said, no, hold off. So that is this multidimensional aspect of it. We have this revelation hell timeline going on with the chaos, destruction, exposure, lifting of the veil of the deep state and all that they're doing. And their programs to harvest energy from humanity and Mother Earth, keep us locked down, keep us in this mental haze so we can't think for ourselves or connect to source or use our intuition. And then at the higher timelines, this is the ascension. This is why we came, to set Mother Earth free, to redeem ourselves, and to ascend out of this into what some people call heaven or the new Earth timelines. So it's really beautiful, but it's also tragic at the same time. And we were warned that this would happen. Even biblically, it's right there in Revelation that this is happening. The Hopi prophecies predicted this. There's so many. And this is the time. This is the time we've been waiting for. And you get to choose which side you're on and where you're at in this. Do you want to stay at a lower frequency, stuck in the middle of this chaos, and all of this is happening to you? Or do you want to rise above, where you are able to, step out of this and it's not impacting you in the same way it would impact somebody that's, stuck in the lower timelines?
Okay. So someone stuck in the lower timelines would be responding in very negative ways, or
probably like feeling panic, anxiety, the world is collapsing around them, despair, uncertainty. And the easiest way to get yourself out of those timelines is to raise your vibration, raise your frequency, because we experience that which we resonate at. And that's the fundamental concept behind quantum healing, and everything on Earth is a vibration and frequency. And so if you hit a tuning fork, the resonance of a tuning fork next to it will start to vibrate at the same frequency. So you attract that which you are vibrating at. So you get to choose. Nobody can choose which frequency you're choosing to vibrate at. Your thoughts are very powerful, and they program your body. Your body's mainly water consciousness. If you haven't heard of it before, look up Dr. Marcel Emoto, and Veda Austin is another modern woman who is doing a lot of research to bring that to the forefront, that water is consciousness. And so by your thoughts, your words, your actions, you're programming your vessel. And so how are you programming it? With high vibration, positive, uplifting thoughts, or are you bringing yourself down?
Excellent. Because people always ask that, well, how do I do that? How do I raise my vibration? Well, you have to, what would you say? Look at what the trauma that people have been through. What can they do in those circumstances to keep their vibration high?
So emotion is supposed to be energy in motion. It is supposed to flow. Right. And think of it as water. Again, I love water. It's the perfect symbolism for, even source energy. It is supposed to ebb and flow and move, and it can go wherever it needs to. Even in the tiniest crack, water can permeate. It can take out mass cities. It can be really weak or powerful. It has all these abilities. And so we are to be that way with emotion and trauma. We are to open ourselves and allow them to flow through us. But what we have been trained to do is to restrict that flow, and then they get stuck within us. So traumas and emotions get stuck, and then they lead to physical, emotional, spiritual imbalances in the body, and they can physically kill us eventually. And that is really what quantum healing is about, is restoring flow back to the body, releasing places of stagnation and imbalance. And anybody can do this just by, if you're feeling anger or grief, allow yourself to experience it. And sometimes I'll just say, I'm feeling a lot of grief right now, and I open myself up and allow it to flow through me. And again, most of us have been very hurt by everyone that we've ever loved or who has ever loved us. And so our pattern is to lock down our hearts and create these heart walls. Yet for us to really ascend and be who we're meant to be in flow, we have to do this with an open heart. Our heart is really the portal of our body. Our heart is where we connect to source, and where we can see clearly is through the lens of our heart. And so we have to bring down those walls that we built up to protect ourselves on the heart and put up boundaries so we can operate with this open heart, yet we're still protected from people that want to, siphon our energy, latch onto us, put in hooks, and do all kinds of things. We can live free that way, where we are open-hearted, flowing, but also not allowing these dark forces or individuals, whatever you want to call them, to pull in our energy. And in that space, you can find peace. And with the heart open, that flow of, yes, it's traumatic. Yes, it's not fun to experience all of these emotions. And some of them can be very hard, but that's why we're here, is to experience this. So take a breath and let it go. Do some meditation. Take some time and put your feet on the earth. Do some grounding. Hug a tree. There's a beautiful energetic connection that happens when you connect your body into the energy of a tree. And often, I'll also ask permission. Do I have permission to connect with your energy field when I'm connecting with trees? And I teach people how to do muscle testing, which is applied kinesthesiology. I have a free 10-minute video on my YouTube channel or an advanced class on my website. And you can learn to talk to animals, plants. My daughter's nonverbal, and her and I speak telepathically, and I'm pretty much telepathic with all beings or things. But if you're not telepathic, you can learn to muscle test and just through yes or no questions. And, ask the tree, strong is a yes, and then weak is no. So you can ask the tree, do I have permission to connect with you? Yes. Do I have permission to harvest your fruit? Yes. So then we start connecting into Mother Earth, tuning in, and our frequency will start to resonate with her. And at the frequency of the living organic nature versus that AI, synthetic, smart tech world that is being built around us and is trying to take over, like the smart cities. They want everything artificial and inorganic. But we're being called to go back to our roots, to the organic. Yes. And everyone's on pharmaceuticals that are all these, concoctions of smart tech, black magic, toxins, you name it is in those. Yet, if you walked out into your yard, if you didn't kill it all with Roundup, your yard is full of beautiful herbs that are a gift from Mother Nature to heal us right there, and they're free. And we didn't even have to do anything to cultivate them. They just grew. And I've studied plants for decades. And, I've had 40 different herbs that grew in my yard in Montana. And so I would know, we need some mullein for our lungs. Let's go make a tincture out of that. That's or a tea. It's just right there. And we don't have to go to these pharmaceutical companies that don't have our best interest in heart, and they're loading us full of smart tech to overtake and try to create this inorganic vessel. They want to make us into cyborgs and these inorganic beings so that they can control us like these drones.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I agree 100%. I'm right there with you. Yeah, it's very concerning, and we need to get back to our original roots. Pharmaceuticals, as you said, I like the way you described them. In the long run, they do more harm than good. And frequently, people are never told about the side effects. And it's interesting to find that many of the side effects that they put on there, by the way, Bruce Lipton calls them direct effects, is that they produce the very same thing that they're trying to treat. Have you ever looked into that? For example, psychiatric drugs. Frequently, if you look on the label, and somebody's taking it for, say, bipolar or something like that. What happens is a lot of times the side effect will actually create that. Like an antidepressant like Prozac can actually create bipolar. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. I don't want to go there, but I couldn't agree with you more. Mother Nature has the answers that we need. And what you were describing as asking Mother Nature, and I really appreciate your saying that, because that is something that natives have always done. Whether they're Native American on the land or in Hawaii, that's the way they were raised originally. I don't know if all of them still practice that way, but that is a practice that needs to come back. And
I agree. We need to go back to our roots, back to Mother Nature, let her guide us. And, if somebody wants to unalive themselves, they don't go take a bottle of echinacea, what do? They take a bottle of pharmaceutical pills. Like, what does that say? What is that saying? We were not, I don't know. It's insane to me.
It is. It's like we don't have a Prozac deficiency. We don't have any of the pharmaceutical drugs. We do not have a deficiency of that drug, and that's why it's helping. What happens is they cover up and mask and only treat symptoms and never get to the root cause, which is the very name of your website. Why don't you share your website?
Yes. Okay. My website is rootsrestoredwellness.com. And through quantum healing, I really do seek to go to the root causes of imbalances in the body so that your body can restore balance and homeostasis. And I believe that we were all made to heal, just like we see on the superhero shows. They may show it faster, but if you were to get a cut, your body will heal itself if you remove the debris that is in the wound. And so that is kind of what quantum healing is doing. It's removing the imbalance, the blockage, and then your body can go back to healing itself. And you can be this vital force as part of nature again. And I'm a living, walking testament of that. When I was at my sickest, I was only able to function maybe 3 hours a day. Going up one flight of stairs was all of my energy, and I was out of breath. And it was exhausting. And I had the Lyme had attacked my brain. And some days I couldn't even remember how to make pancakes. Like, it was just gone. I had no recollection of what keys were for. Some days it was complete amnesia. And all of it has been restored. I feel the healthiest I've ever felt in my life. And I have thousands of clients all over the world that are seeing amazing results too. And I get really tough cases of people that have been chronically ill for a really long time. And they're finding help and healing through this method. And the beauty of quantum healing is that it transcends space, time, dimensions, realities, ancestry, different parallel lives. And so you don't have to talk to me or see me or come to me. You just sign up. And then for some of my sessions, I email notes when I'm done. Some of them you just go in a healing pod, and you know that you're in there because you feel a shift in your energy. And, I've had clients where their headaches immediately go away when they get in a healing pod. Their dog starts walking normally when the dog was limping. There's so many different reviews and reports of amazing things happening. And I feel like this is really the healing of the future. I don't use any electronic devices or connect with AI technology for healing. I just use my body. And I believe that, again, this is a gift. This is something that we are returning to in society. And everybody can eventually, I believe, tap into this and be able to heal themselves. I don't use magnets. I don't use anything at all. I just connect to the higher self of my clients or source, and all the information is right there. This is what's going on. This is what needs to be done. This is how it needs to be addressed, and then it's done. And it really is so simple that, it could take seconds to do a clearing on somebody. The way that this works, it seems like it's too good to be true. But again, we have limitless potential. And why have we been targeted for so long? Because they are very fearful of us. If we were to awaken and open our inner sight, what we are capable of. That is why we are so targeted and assaulted by toxins and all these bioweapons and everything that they're doing to lock us down. And I've seen when you could say that I'm a medical medium. I can see in the body and see what these different pharmaceuticals and arm marks are doing. And the number one area that they target, and I see them accumulating around, is actually your pineal gland and your first eye, your first sight. They want to lock that down. And another area that they target is your gut. We have that gut instinct where you feel it, like either you get butterflies and are excited, or you feel this, pit of dread. They target those areas so that we become disconnected from our own alert systems, and we are not able to trust ourselves or make sound judgment anymore. And then what do we do instead? We turn to their lying media for the truth of what's going on, because we're so disconnected from ourselves. And everything that I do, the whole root of my everything within me is to restore sovereignty to the people and Mother Earth. Learn to do muscle testing so you can connect if you're not telepathic yet. I teach people how to make bioshields. Learn to shield yourself so you don't have to worry about 5G and the shedding of the arm marks and all of these energies. You can live a free lifestyle. I sleep with my phone next to my head on, and guess what? It has 0 EMF reading on my EMF reader because it's shielded. I drink tap water. Guess what? I energetically cleanse it. We're fine. We're healthy. I don't live in fear of anything, and it's such a free way to live, and I feel like that's how we were really meant to live. Not in fear. When we are in fear, that fuels the dark agenda. And so that is the state. If you listen to the media, it's fear, 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 catastrophe, catastrophe, catastrophe. They've got to keep that fear rolling constantly. Even religion a lot of it is very fear-based.
Very, very.
And so we need to step out of that and realize we don't have anything to fear. We are powerful, sovereign beings, but you just have to believe that you're worthy to claim back that sovereignty and then step into it. And that's what happened to me. I was very depressed for most of my life, chronically ill and chronic, horrific pain. I wanted to die. And I called back my power. I realized who I was, and I started to heal and do that deep shadow work that is really hard to do. But I promise you it's worth it on the other side. And now here I am. I'm healed. I'm a vibrant mother for my children, not that I'm perfect. And I'm helping thousands of people heal all over the world. And it seems effortless, honestly. I mean, it really, everything just flows. And I don't feel like I'm working against the grain or walking through muck anymore like I used to be. It's a complete transformation. And I feel like everybody deserves to be free and live in peace and harmony with one another and nature. And it is attainable. There are people that are doing it all over the world right now.
I'm going to put up this question and let you, it's not really a question, but maybe you can address it. Why didn't it go? Okay. There we go. Okay. Shannon is saying, watching my friends experience medical emergencies and having 21 friends die after taking those, you know what? It's a challenge to stay positive, especially since the evildoers are trying to make us and create the hysteria again. It's a depopulation regimen, and being aware is so important so that you do not comply.
And I know this is really hard, Shannon, and anybody else that can resonate with this, but honestly, at the core of everything, we have to honor everyone's free will. And everyone gets a choice to choose their path. And we all have the opportunity to choose our exit point in this vessel. And we may be confronted with many exit points in our life. And that is an exit point that they may have chosen. And I saw this, let's go back to the Lahaina fires real quick. I saw this when I tuned into the children that perished in this tragedy. I asked them, they told me that they knew that they were choosing that as their exit point, and that is the way that they wanted to leave. And I know it's really hard for some people to accept that, but even they made a difference. They did, and that is, they knew what was going to happen. They agreed to it in their higher self level. They did. And even my cat passed away last fall, right around Lionsgate portal. He was a very healthy cat, only 7 years old. He had been ran over before, and he made a complete recovery with quantum healing. Like nothing was damaged on him at all. He had a few days down where he was in, pain. And he ended up, I saw that he was hurting, and I'm like, what's going on, buddy? And he got himself ran over by my neighbor, and he would not allow me to heal him or accept any healing energy from me. And then I found that he perished, unfortunately. And I tuned in with him, and I said, I'm like, why did you go? Like, why didn't you accept healing? And he said, I'm going home and I won't be back. He said the Stargate that he wanted to go through was finally open. And, again, I just had to honor that path that he chose. And I know I grew up in the church as Catholic, and I've felt my whole life even still extremely judged by people telling me like, oh, you need to come to church. We really want to make sure you're going to heaven. Essentially, to me, that's saying we're judging that you're going to hell, and so you need our program. And nobody likes to be judged, right? We are on our own journey. And so we have to really honor and respect the journey of others, even if it's something that hurts us and we don't agree with. And if it triggers us, a trigger is a sign of unhealed areas within you. And so you need to work on yourself if you're feeling triggered by some of this. it's hard. I know it's like looking in the mirror and it's being reflected back, and we don't like to do that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put this one up here. Replying to Shannon. Okay, I lost my dad as well. I'll just put this up here, not from the prick is a way of putting it, but during the opening of electric surgery, it was sad, so beautiful, and all the same as the consciousness wisdom of our loved ones, elders, trickle down the tree onto us. I don't know. I guess I didn't know everything.
Okay. She says down the tree unto us the branches and leaves. I actually opened up more shortly after his passing.
Oh, okay. I wasn't quite sure she was saying that. Okay, we have Jenny Lee was just live, just finished onto the new Enlightenment channel. Oh, okay.
Thanks, Becky.
Thank you, Becky. It lets others know that Raylene knows what she's talking about, which I can already tell. That's awesome. Let me see if we got any other things here. Okay, what would you say to this? Never forget that there's plenty of poison in our food and water. And
there is, but remember, we are powerful beings, and study water consciousness to know that everything at a fundamental level is energy, and we have the ability to transmute it to whatever you want. And so, like I said, we drink tap water here in Maui because we don't have a filtration system, and I feel like it's clean water. It doesn't harm us in any way. There are people who are getting sick here. The water system in the Lahaina area and Kula area are polluted right now, and they can't even boil it and drink it. It's extremely toxic, and some people in Kihei have been reporting getting ill. My family and I haven't experienced any of that, and I don't live in fear. I just change the energy. If there happen to be toxins in something, I just cleanse it, and I don't worry about it. And if you learn how to make bioshields, you can learn how to do that too. And I have a class that's really inexpensive that teaches people and empowers them on how to do that and not live in fear.
That's what people need. They need empowerment, and they need to recognize the divine within them, and that they're very special that way, and they're very powerful because of it. But we've been, dumbed down and programmed down to not recognize or know our own power. So,
and because we've forgotten who we are, we're willing to submit ourselves and give up our freedom to the government for their, ploy of safety. But when we learn that we're powerful beings and we have the ability to protect ourselves and rise above all of this, we don't need to, do this bargaining and exchange our safety, our freedom for safety.
Yeah, they do that a lot. Our national security, yeah.
Yeah.
It's always an excuse to hide the truth. Let me see what this one says. Any way you can tell me how I can help my grandsons who went on vacation with their grandpa who is of a dark source?
If you're asking for help from me, I do offer free assessments on my website. If you go to rootsrestoredwellness.com, at the bottom of the landing page is an assessment form, and I will ask your body, what do you need to address this issue? Or if you just would like to heal in general, it could be a variety of different things or areas. I do work on a lot of spiritual warfare. I find that about 90% of the entities that I find in people are actually self-created out of unresolved trauma. So your trapped trauma can actually turn into an entity within yourself, because it is stuck and trapped, and then it starts to kind of fester and mutate and explode out. And then it can even attack other people around you. There are external dark forces, or I call them inorganic dark forces, but that's only about 10% of the time in my findings of, tens of thousands of people that I've worked on, or sessions of people.
Wow, that's fascinating. So you're saying that the dark entities or attachments that people talk about more of them are created by themselves, or not necessarily?
Yes, most of them. We can have aspects of demon consciousness. Even people just don't realize the power of our bodies. Your word, and the Bible does warn about this too, the spoken word has the ability to curse. And so if you even think something or say something negative towards someone, you may be cursing them. And when I first started to step into my gifts and really tune into my body, I would like talk to my family members, and then after they left, I would feel like I was literally stabbed in the back. And when I tuned in, I found out that they were actually stabbing me in the back, and it was attached to me as an energy weapon. And so based on your actions, you could be harming people with energy weapons. I find all kinds of them, like nooses, like stones on the feet, things that are to trip you up, a lot of stab in the back, stab in the heart energies. And we're doing this to other people just by our thoughts, our actions. And I'll say, even as a mother, I was guilty of doing it to my own children before I learned the power of my thoughts and my words. If I was frustrated with them, just what you're thinking, we have to be very conscious of our thoughts, our words, and how we're using those. Are we bringing life and vitality to earth and humanity, or are we bringing death and curses and destruction?
Right. Oh, that's so true. So QFA is saying, right, I feel that too, that entities are due to our programming, a trauma programming. I mean, we have a lot of programming that we need to transmute. Now, you talked earlier about the shadow work. Would you explain to people how you do shadow work and define it? Because sometimes I think people are confused about it. And we've talked about this on other shows, but it's always interesting to hear someone else's explanation or perspective, or because people need to hear it from different sources sometimes, and it resonates better with some than others. And it's not to say one's any better than the other. It's just that some of us, are different kinds of learners. So let me put it that way.
Sure. My friend actually sent me a really great quote on shadow work this morning, so I'm going to read that, and it's from Message from Beyond. It says, "It's a common misconception that the shadow is home to the worst parts of ourselves, but this is false. The shadow is actually home to the rejected parts of ourselves, and for this reason, the shadow is full of untapped potential and creativity." And so our shadow is that part of us that we have deemed as dark or evil or unacceptable. And so what we do, or even if we have traumas or emotions, experiences we don't want to deal with, I find people will put this shadow overlay over the top of it and kind of stuff it under the rug. Well, it doesn't go away. It's still there. And it will try to keep surfacing, saying, hey, you need to deal with me. You need to confront me. You need to face this. And we keep pushing it down until eventually something has to give. It could be a mental breakdown. It could be, a severe health issue that could surface. We could have a physical heart attack due to it. It can manifest in multiple ways. And so to do our shadow work, we really have to go press into the darkness in all parts of ourselves. And I had this really beautiful revelation about what the story of Yeshua, or Jesus in the Bible, what that meant when he descended into darkness for 3 days. What I saw is that he was showing us how to do our shadow work.
Oh, wow.
And so by going into the shadows, it's our job to look at every nook and cranny of ourselves and find any reason why we would be unworthy to ascend, unworthy of, coming up into the light. Nobody can tell us the answer to that except for us. And we have to do that self-examination of going into our darkest parts of us. And I have found that some of what we feel that we may have done to people, even if you remember past lives, could actually be programs that were put into you as well. Like these hologram reels, like a movie that, hey, you did that, but maybe you actually didn't. And even if you did, we're all here for soul growth and lessons. We're all imperfect people and we are learning. Does your child getting, failing or getting a question wrong on a test make them unworthy of graduating and doing anything for the rest of their life, and they should go into the pit? No, they're learning. And so we need to give ourselves that grace. And once we can go into our shadows and our darkness and emerge, knowing that, okay, I am absolutely worthy without a shadow of a doubt, then we rise and we can ascend into the light, which is the story of Yeshua and what he was showing us with that parable or his life.
That is awesome. That is a wonderful explanation. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Never thought of it that way. I'm just putting this up here. How can we rid the world of these evil creatures causing such suffering? like in Maui. This is what I'm struggling with so much lately. I want to leave a beautiful paradise for my child when I'm gone. One of the things you mentioned, and I'm just going to bring this up, it's not related to Maui, but I think this was going to happen in other places. One of the places that they're drying up right now is Louisiana, and they're very worried about wildfires, which aren't really wildfires; they're created
No.
fires, and that's a concern, and it could be a concern in the area where I'm at as well, because it is dry here. Um,
I have a really good friend that lives in Louisiana, and there's definitely fires going on, a lot of them right now. They're all over, actually. Canada's on fire, the Northwest is on fire, different parts of Europe. I mean, the whole world, it feels like, is having some type of weather catastrophe. And Mother Earth did warn me that this was going to happen, Revelation that this was going to happen, Hopi prophecies. And so, Dana, I don't know if you've been listening to the whole thing, but this is really the purging of darkness right now. Everything that happened in Maui, is tragic as it is, we can see that the dark controllers and agendas are being exposed and brought to light.
yes,
And
yes, yes.
more and
I
more of the
heard it.
veils will be removed.
Right. I heard that, Hawaii has been a stronghold of the dark cabal for some time. So a cleansing was necessary. Now, as far as these fires around in other places on the planet, did you get from Mother Earth that that's necessary cleansing as well? Or
Yes. Yes, she told me I can get a lot hotter than any of you. I'm not gonna, she won't, she's got herself under control. So she's said, you better, reconcile yourself with her. And even your property. I have a few TikToks where I talked about going to places that have been, haunted, or, spirits were very unhappy at the building and the way that it was built, and not permission was not asked. And by just coming to that space and those spirits and saying, I'm so sorry that this happened, is there a way that we can work together and transmute this into something that's healing and life-giving? We were able to do that, create this beautiful healing center, and then everybody felt really good about it. And so even if you've already built and you've done things that are not aligned to Mother Earth, there is always a place for reconciliation and to come to a place of peace, but you have to be willing to do that and humble your ego and get that out of the way to come forward so you can start living in harmony. And when we know better, we can do better. And it's our job to teach the next generation, again, to do better because we didn't know this. And so how could we have made those choices in the moment that we were making them?
So true. You have another compliment.
Thanks,
Raylene.
Jackie.
And I put your YouTube channel in the description too.
All right, thank you. I do go live every Monday at 4:00 Mountain Standard Time on YouTube or Facebook.
Oh, awesome. Well, I might like to have you on again.
I'd love to be on.
That's awesome. I love what you're saying. Now, I have somebody put in the chat that Eastern Washington is burning with over 20,000 acres and still burning. Oh my goodness. Eastern Washington. Okay, so that's close to the ocean then?
Want to shed some light on the burning, because I know it is devastating. It's tragic. We love, the trees and all the lush, everything on earth. It's so beautiful, but there is this refining fire energy that is happening right now on Mother Earth. And I had quite a few clients last week say that they were feeling this burning energy within them. And when I tuned in, I also found that it was refining fire, burning off all that no longer serves them. And from the fire emerges new life. For a forest to replenish itself, the pine cone actually has to go through the flames, and then it releases the seeds for new earth or new life. And that's what I'm seeing happening right now. And it's also the story of Pele on the big island of Hawaii. She burns everything with this refining fire, but then her sister is actually the seed of new life that reseeds the earth. And she's shown me that this is really what's playing out here and happening. And so connect yourself to Mother Earth, make sure that you're aligned with her. And I don't feel that you have anything to fear. But if you're disconnected and if you're exploiting her and acting as a parasite, I would probably be a little concerned. But you can choose at any moment to change your mentality and your ways. So it's up to you which place you want to be.
So true, so true. It just makes sense. It just really makes a lot of sense. Okay, I was just seeing if we have any other questions from the listening audience. I don't know if I missed one back here.
And we can go back to Dana's comment where she was talking about how can we rid the world of these evil creatures. It's happening right now. The sun, the cosmic source of our universe, also is sending in all of this ascension energy. I do a lot of updates about the Schumann resonance and the solar activity. And as this energy comes in, it's light energy. And it exposes the darkness. It's like having a flashlight in a dark room, and the light keeps getting brighter and brighter and brighter, and we're seeing more and more and more get exposed over time. Yep. And so the more that they get exposed, there's people like me who are, I don't know, I call myself a light worker, but a shadow worker at the same time. We are here for that very purpose, to take all these dark forces that have been enslaving humanity, violating the laws of free will and unity, the law of one, and returning them back to source, because they are in violation of the laws of the universe, and that is no longer being allowed to stand. And so it is happening. It is getting taken care of right now. The majority of the dark forces are gone, but there's still some dark strongholds there. We're waiting for that light to show us where they're at. Just like in Lahaina, it took this tragedy for what they were doing in that lower realms below 3D to be exposed. And then they were trying to hit Mother Earth at the jugular. And if you take out somebody's heart, what happens to them? That's their core. And so they were trying to hit Mother Earth at her heart and take her down and control her. And it will not stand. I've seen the future timelines, and we will prevail. The light will prevail. Mother Earth is ascending, and this old system of the slave matrix is fading away. So we can, we have to go through the motions and the actions to get to that timeline where there is this redemption, but we're doing it. And I've seen that it does happen.
Awesome. That's wonderful. I thought of a question and now
Sorry.
It escaped my mind. Well, that's okay. No, it's wonderful. I love what you're saying. I'm right on board with everything you say. It just resonates. So that's wonderful. Yeah. Let me see if anyone else put anything else out there.
Someone made a comment about casting spells and spelling. The English language is very rife with magic, you would say, and it's very curse-worthy. Like, they take the soul print of your child as soon as they're born. What soul are they taking? Because they also take their blood, and they're harvesting their soul, not their footprint. So the way the English language is it's a very dark language, honestly, and that's, I believe, why my daughter's nonverbal. She refuses to speak it. She won't speak English. She's like, if it was French, I would speak French, Mom. So.
But you communicate telepathically with her.
I do, yeah. She's a beautiful angel.
She must be very gifted.
She is.
How old is she?
She's 28 months.
28 months. Oh, wow. Oh,
yeah.
You may see a lot as time goes on. Wow. Okay. Can you give us light workers some homework to anchor down light in this time of splitting timelines?
I would say listen to me every week. I usually give lots of guidance. I don't charge for my lives. It's free information to share with humanity, and I share the downloads that I'm getting for what we need to be working on as humanity. What was really pressing that came forth this week was that story of, descending into the shadows and rising, believing and finding that we're worthy. So going in and doing our shadow work. And I found that even for myself, I still have some aspects coming up where there's these little bits of unworthiness here and there, especially being raised in the Catholic Church, where everything was like, I'm not worthy. And it was so deeply ingrained in me that it took me a very long time to even get past part of that. And then what else? I think I threw my notes away from yesterday. I was like, what did I talk about? How do we really level up and move forward? What I'm seeing with a lot of people is they're stuck in this poverty mindset of lack. And we need to move into this abundance timeline. And the only way that we'll ever be able to do that, or you will, I'm in the abundance timelines, and I'm not going back to the lack timelines, but we have to be able to receive. And it is so hard for us to receive. If you're not open to receiving, then you can't be open to receiving the abundance that is coming to you. And it has to be this beautiful flow. And I like to use the infinity loop of giving and receiving. So as much as we give, we must also open ourselves to receive. And I see so many clients. I actually have a session this week on abundance and prosperity, and it's really working on this. All of these beautiful gifts are just waiting right at the precipice for them, but they're not open to receive it because at the fundamental level, they don't believe they're worthy. And a lot of people get despair anchors built in them, like, I'm not worthy, I'm worthless, I shouldn't be here, I don't deserve good things. And you have to work through those mental programs. I do this in quantum healing, but you can do it on your own too, to release those and restore. Yes, I am worthy. I'm worthy of abundance. I'm worthy of good things. I deserve to be here. I am valuable. I'm adored. I have a purpose. I'm here and I'm making an impact. And every one of you is making an impact, whether you believe it or not, as we heal ourselves, as within, as without, as above, as below. What we're doing inside of ourselves reflects on our external world around us, and vice versa. As we see Mother Earth heal, it heals us within. So we find that we're all connected. So you can join in this ascension by healing yourself, because it heals the world around you and it's contagious. Just like people are worried about the shedding of the arm marks, and that it's spreading, we can be the ones who are spreading light and love and peace and abundance and prosperity.
And that's what we need to do. And that's what we will do. Do you think people are starting to unite?
Yes. People are waking up. And again, there's people at multiple levels. There's still those who are sleeping. They believe that the government's amazing and they love pharmaceuticals and that's saving them. And they're starting to wake up. Again, the more light that comes down to earth and comes into our sphere, the more the darkness gets illuminated and it gets harder to ignore for those people who have kind of put their head in the sand and they just don't even want to face it or acknowledge it at all. And then we have the group of people who are aware of all the darkness happening on the earth and the agendas playing against us, yet they're not aware of the spiritual aspect and that we're really here for this ascension and this internal journey because they're so focused on the external. But it is part of this progression of awakening. And that's where I feel that these Maui fires are really bringing forth the opportunity to awaken people in the third dimensional level. And then those who are maybe in the fourth dimensional frequency where they're aware of the darkness, but where do we go from here? We can keep sharing all day long about the toxins and the 5G and all that they're doing to us, but where is it getting us? We need to take the next level and step up and recognize our own divinity, our own power, our own abilities and strengths, that we have the ability to overpower these and rise above them so they have zero effect on us. Just like my phone, I don't know where my EMF reader is. My kids probably took it. But if I were to put this with my EMF reader, it shows 0. Yet somebody else that doesn't have a bioshield, which is just an energetic protective barrier that I teach people how to make, they're getting that radiation and harmful energy from what they put in the devices. We can all rise above this. And the time of awakening to this ability and gift is now. What are you waiting for?
That's excellent, Raylene. Excellent. Okay. Well, she's asked, did I ask this already? Can you give light workers a homework to anchor down the light in this time?
I just gave you your homework. There you go.
Okay. That's what I thought, but I wanted to be clear. Okay. What's this one? When do you feel we'll see the shift?
A lot of people have talked about this great solar flash that's happening. And we're in the middle of it right now. You can look at the sun. You see it's putting off all these flares. I think we've had 11 X flares so far this year, which are massive eruptions off of the sun. We've had so many CMEs, which are coronal mass ejections, sending off plasma light energy into the earth. So we have that external force helping us, but we also have the internal. The more that you open your heart to connect to source, it increases the light within. And this is the English language again. I believe it's a soul as an SOUL, solar flash, a flash of our soul, our internal being that actually happens and we start to awaken. And we are in the process of the Great Awakening right now. We're in the middle of it. And outside of the matrix, which has linear time, it has already happened in a split second. Yet, because we are on this, third dimensional timeline, it's playing out in this linear form for us, this progression. But when I asked my daughter, I asked her how old her spirit was when she was like a couple weeks old, because I knew that she was an old spirit. And she showed me tree rings. And she said, I'm like this old, this expansion. So this is the nature of our spirit, is to expand outward this way, not this linear third dimensional timeline that we think of. So we're in it. It's happening right now. The higher your vibration, the further in the future you are. So people in 3D think like the pole shift that's supposed to be happening, or has happened for some of us. It hasn't happened in the third dimensional frequency yet. But as you raise your vibration, guess what? It's already happened for you. And so there might be some people where this solar flash has already happened for them, based on their frequency, because you're vibrating at a faster frequency, which means time is moving faster and you're essentially in the future compared to these people who are stuck in those dense, slow moving timelines. And so maybe you felt this, where time feels like it's moving really fast and rapidly, or it feels like it's moving very slow for you. That's your judge. Where are you vibrating? We were in Maui for like a month, and it felt like we were here for 9 months. We were plugged in. We had friends with the neighbors. The kids were going to jiu-jitsu. We found a gym. We had like all kinds of stuff going on. And I'm like, we just arrived, but time was moving so fast that it felt like we had been here for a really long time. And we had accomplished so much in just a short amount of time. People are like, what? How do you already have all this done and you're doing all this stuff? And I'm like, I know, it feels like we've been living here for a really long time. So that's the beauty of this process, and you get to choose where you're at. Nobody gets to do it for you. You can't even do it for your children as much as you want to. They get to choose where they're at on their journey as well.
Yeah, that's something that your children have their own path, and sometimes that's can be difficult.
And it's so hard as a parent to just let your children, have their own path. But if we really love them, think of it, I love you enough to let you go. I love you enough to figure this out the way that you need to, but I'm here to support you in your journey if you would like support. But we're never going to convince anyone of anything. They have to feel it and resonate with it in their heart. And that's what I always tell people, like, take what resonates for you. You'll know what frequency you're at. Some of the information I've shared today might be at a level that people aren't resonating at yet. Maybe you'll resonate with it at some point, or maybe you won't, but you get to choose. Like, take what resonates. You don't have to do anything because somebody told you to do it.
That's fantastic. This one is, how are things on the ground over there at this minute with FEMA and Red Cross, etc.? People rising up yet, or what, or what's happening there? I guess somebody must have came in late. We talked about that a little bit in the beginning, so you can always go back. But if you want to give them a real quick summary, that would be
sure. Good. I haven't been on the ground since last week. I kind of took a break at a time and went to the higher realms and just kind of checked out of social media for 4 days, and I came back on Monday. So I came back to some really interesting reports about FEMA and like all this chaos happening. I'm not sure, in my timeline, it didn't happen, but I feel like when I asked and checked on it, it did. Some of the crazy reports of things are happening in the lower timelines. And this is where there's that multidimensional aspect. Even I saw this happening with reports of the fire. What buildings were destroyed? Nobody could align with what was actually destroyed. So many people are like, yeah, Safeway burned down. And then other people are like, Safeway is still standing. They did this with so many different things, all these different perspectives. Some people were saying this, and then others were saying no. It's showing that we are on different realities and different wavelengths. So you get to choose which one you're vibrating at. And we did talk to people. We were helping at like the local boat ramps because they did shut down all the roads to lock people off from assistance. And we were helping load boats and take supplies. And my husband and kids were like cooking for people. And some of the boat drivers told us that they were hesitant to go back and drop supplies because of people holding them at gunpoint, robbing their supply runs, they were pretty much blocked out of all the main boat ramps by the forces that were in control, and whatever forces, whether it was FEMA, the military, the government, whichever one you want to pick. And so they had to find these out of the way locations to deliver the supplies from the people for the people that the government was trying to obstruct. So yes, it's absolutely happening. FEMA took over. There's a place called the War Memorial in Kahului. And we were told as a community, like, bring all of your donations and supplies here. Well, Red Cross and FEMA overtook that shelter and told people that were sent there for help, unless you're checked in and part of this shelter, you will receive nothing. Don't come here for help. And so that was happening as well. They were like packaging up all the donations and taking them, and people were reporting that they were putting them in storage containers behind hotels like the Hyatt in Lahaina. And then reports coming out in the last couple days, and I shared a video on my TikTok of a woman who was actually there and experiencing this. She said that FEMA was dumping loads of donations at the dump in Lahaina. So whatever you can imagine is probably happening on some level. And it, I believe that it's true. Again, on some level, probably 3D, maybe lower than 3D. These things are going on. They were not allowing supply trucks to go in and deliver supplies. Everyone in the affected area of Lahaina, and even just that whole North Shore area, was cut off from all communication, electricity, no water, no gas, no way to get in or out because they locked down the roads under the guise that they were searching for the deceased. And I'm like, you're killing the living under this guise of searching for the deceased. It makes no sense at all. And so...
Just like the guy that cut off the water saying, well, we got to have a talk about water equity. I'm going, what?
Yeah, it's like, what is going on? But I feel that all of this is really exposing what is behind all of these, FEMA, Red Cross, our government. They are being forced in a way to expose themselves right now. I don't feel like there's any hiding places for them. So it's all coming out for the world to see. The whole world is looking at Maui right now and what is happening here. And the people are being vocal about it. And they're, we're trying to get suppressed and shadow banned a little bit here and there. I had a couple of videos removed on TikTok and I appealed them. And I did some spiritual work to clear any blocks, and they removed the appeal, and now they're back up. So I feel like the information that needs to go out will get out to the right people who need to hear or see it.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's awesome. The sleepers awake. Well, what would you say to this? Okay. Let the sleeper sleep, or I make the awakened one suffer more.
I don't feel like we're suffering by allowing the sleepers to sleep. If you don't want to take part in that role of awakening, then you don't. But some of us did come here for that reason, to assist with the awakening and the ascension. And so that is our role. And if you feel like it doesn't resonate with you, then just don't even think about them and do your own process and your own journey.
Okay. I have someone wanting to repeat your where your live show is. Now, I told people in the description is her YouTube channel, and that's where you go live, isn't it?
Yes, and or on Facebook, Roots Restored Wellness. It is 4:00 Mountain Standard Time on Mondays. And I do live quantum healing clearings. I talk about updates that are happening in the world with the ascension and behind the veil. And I also talk about sessions that I'm offering for the week that you can participate in with you if you want. And I have one on shadow work this week, and I have one.
Oh, wow.
Some of the other stuff that we were talking about, I'm like, I have sessions. I have a heart wall session this week.
Fantastic.
This shadow energy and lower self, abundance and prosperity. Those are all group sessions you can participate in, and they're simple. You sign up, and I send you notes when I'm done. You can sleep. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to take an hour out of your day to sit in an appointment. It's really beautiful. The freedom that quantum healing gives me and you.
Freedom. Wow. That's fascinating. What's this one? We're all making an impact. We are creators in truth frequency.
Yes.
And
we're doing it together.
Yeah. That's the frequency we're trying to bring to the surface to be all truth.
Yes.
I notice the days are going by faster. This is my experience has been, some days go by so fast. It's like I'm a day ahead of what the day actually is. Thinking that it's, and then I've had a couple of times where the day seems slow.
And the days that, if you have that, what I feel is happening is we're vibrating high, our body's in homeostasis, we're feeling pretty good. And then when these energy waves come in, they bring more density to the surface for our bodies to clear. And so it kind of bogs us down, and we feel heavy and dense and maybe depressed and sad.
Exactly.
And we have to clear that off. And once we get it cleared in our body, it's balanced again, then we get back on track.
Then
and I do have I have a healing pod, and it's called Ascension Symptom Support. And that's what it's made for, is to help you like clear that density as quickly as possible so you can get back to, your balanced state. And we're pretty much let's go back to the water. Go back to the waves again. We are getting hit with wave after wave of ascension energy. And the waves, just like contractions, are getting closer and closer together. So we're getting less and less time to recover between the waves. And they're pretty much like rapid fire at this point. Like, boom, oh, you got a breath? Here we go, back again. And a year ago, they were, we had some time. Maybe we had a week in between the waves or a month. Now I'm like, we're lucky if we get a day. It's
boom,
like,
boom, boom.
Let's go again.
So true. Somebody had mentioned or asked about the FEMA director being arrested. I had information that the deputy director was arrested, but they were going to arrest the director too. I don't know if you can get...
So when I tune into 3D, I get that, yes, that did happen. But when I tune into fourth dimensional frequencies, it didn't happen. But it doesn't even matter once you're above 3D, because those beings and their programs that they're running are really all in the third dimensional frequency. So again, it's kind of complicated, but you have to think about what frequency is this resonating at and where is it happening? And maybe it did not happen in your reality because you're at a higher frequency where none of that even matters anymore. And I think someone had a comment about, we're letting these people like drag us down. I don't know about you, but I was in paradise over the last 4 days and it felt like magical, like I was in another world, separated from everything going on. And we can choose that if we want to. But I know, like, I had to go there to recharge, and then it's like, I got to go back down to earth again. And because my mission and my purpose here is not done. And so again, take time for self-care. If you're a healer, someone asked about light workers and your homework, make sure you're taking time to recharge yourself, because if you're not recharged, how are you possibly going to be helping other people? And so I do take a lot of times to recharge myself, and then I go right back into the game. It's like, here I am again. And I have like back to back every day, like 3 days in a row, podcasts and my own lives that I do and quantum healing sessions, that now that I'm back into this and trying to report information that I'm hearing on the ground, or people are sending me so much information. I have thousands of messages. I can't possibly read them all.
No.
So I just hope I get the ones that I really need to get.
I know the feeling. I've got an extraordinary number of emails. And I don't even do what you do. I just do this. But I'm absolutely delighted to be able to have someone like you on, because I think you're bringing a lot of light forward, and I'm happy to have that on my channel. This is a long message. I didn't read all the way through it, but let's see. Teresa, at the beginning of this 19 plan, I had coding coming in. I could see it when I closed my eyes, flashes of all sorts of things. I also had what felt like a brain massage, and I had on my shoulder and a hand on my shoulder. These things lasted for months. I also, I don't know where the rest of it went.
It says, these things lasted for months. Also, I had the chorus of the song Silly Love Songs, which is I Love You, playing in my head for about a year. Many other supernatural experiences too. Has anyone else had any of this? I would say go within, to determine how that feels for you. I get a lot of information in my head. Maybe you're hearing telepathic messages from source or other beings. With this, I like to check the light score. This is where muscle testing comes in handy. Is the light score of this pure and 100%, or is it infiltrated by some entity interference? I always say, like, test the spirits and test the information you're getting to make sure it's pure, because we don't want to be deceived. And there's a lot of, hijacking going on in frequency wars where they can program our minds and our thoughts. And so we have to be really aware and test everything.
Oh, wow. So you could actually test your thoughts? Is that what you're saying?
In a way, you could say, is the thought that I'm thinking right now pure? Is it coming from my heart center or source, or from a being that is benevolent and has my highest good in mind? Or is it coming from some like nefarious program or, some other source that I don't want to be? Why would I want to listen to that? And I just would clear them and be like, go back to source, get out of here.
see. Let's see what this one is. Any thoughts on the most important shadows or false belief systems to work on top of the victim mindset and poverty mindset? I've got some time off in the mountains to work on things like the top 10.
Well, the number one, I already said, it's believing that at the core of your being that you're worthy. You're worthy to receive, you're worthy to have gifts, you're worthy to, trust yourself. And something that I've been saying to myself a lot is let go, trust, and surrender to this process, and learning to get out of your mind, because the mind can be controlled and hijacked and have all these implants and programs put in it. We really need to be operating from our heart center, and they can't hijack the heart. They will try to, cause problems with our heart, but they can't hijack our heart. So bringing yourself out of this mind and all these thoughts and trying to box and compartmentalize everything, and just letting what you're experiencing flow through the heart. And sometimes don't even get attached to it. Just let it move through you without trying to overanalyze everything. And it can be hard to do, but it's very powerful and cleansing for your body and your energy when you can do that and just let things move. And whatever it is, like say I'm open here, whatever needs to move through. And I get a lot of energy that moves in for the collective and Mother Earth. And sometimes it is extremely overwhelming to have that coming through, but it's processing, and somebody has to feel it and process it. And is somebody going to do it for you? I don't know. You're best to do it for yourself.
There you go. Well, we're getting close to our closing time, so I think this has been extremely informative and helpful for people, and to know also what's been going on in Maui. And I can't thank you enough, Raylene. This has been a very enlightening show, and I would love to have you on again, if you don't mind.
I'd love to come on again. It was my pleasure and honor to be on with you today, Gail.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're a wonderful healer, and I think we need to get you out there even more. So
Thank you.
I will contact you and be back in touch. And so is anybody, well, I can't really do any more questions, but I think we'll call it a wrap at this point. If you have any final words.
I just want to read one of the comments real quick.
Oh, go ahead. Did I miss it?
Let's see. He said, where did it go? The exact guidance card I got this morning was I am worthy. So this is a major confirmation. Thank you, Raylene. That's what we need to be working on. I'm worthy.
I am worthy.
You're worthy. All of you, you're worthy.
I have issues with that too, because I went to 12 years of parochial school. So, I got indoctrinated. It was Lutheran, wasn't Catholic, but there's not that much difference, really, when it comes right down to it. Of course, they say there is, but that's a whole nother story. That's all man-made stuff. Anyway, thank you, Raylene. This was wonderful.
Oh, and here, put this comment up from my husband real quick, Trent Short. He says, Shelley, be your own light, and they will either follow your light or fall away. You can't give people advice that changes their paradigm unless they are open-minded enough to hear it. Of course he's my husband. He's super smart. He knows all this.
Very good, very good. Thank you, Trent.
It's my honor. Thank you so much. And I'd love to connect with you again, Gail, whenever you feel like you want some more.
You're awesome. I love it. Yeah, we'll definitely we'll have you back on. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see you again soon.
We have found our way. It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers, stronger than ever. Never say never. Don't look back now. Don't look back now. Rise up, stand with each other. We are sisters and brothers, finding our place and running the race. We'll take our chance and seize the moment. Hold on tight and don't let go of all your hopes and dreams that light the way. We control our fate. Destiny awaits. We are all the actors in the stories we create. Hope will be our guide. We'll no longer hide. When we roll like thunder, feel the wonder from inside. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors.